Sir Christopher Chope.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I beg to move that leave be given to bring in a bill about COVID-19 vaccine damage payments, as on the order paper. This bill is not about the tens of millions of people in the United Kingdom who have benefited from the vaccination programme. This bill is about the tens of thousands for whom the harm caused by the vaccine was greater than the benefit. The specific focus of this bill is on the families of those who tragically died and those individuals who suffered severe injury or life-changing conditions as a result of doing their public duty and being vaccinated. The issue at stake is one of trust. To its credit, the government recognised that some people might be adversely affected by the vaccines, and it therefore extended the provisions of the 1979 Vaccine Damage Payments Act to enable those who suffer vaccine damage causing at least 60% disablement to receive an ex gratia lump sum payment of £120,000. The 1979 Act, however, is not working. No payments have yet been made under its provisions, even in respect of those whom a coroner's verdict has found died because of the vaccine. The impatience and frustration of those so affected is now palpable. Having lost their loved ones more than a year ago, some have been badgering the Minister for action. And I understand that yesterday the Minister, who I'm pleased to see on the front bench, blocked vaccine victims on her Twitter account, and today she has closed her Twitter account completely. This is an indication of the strength of feeling that there is out amongst the public. Experience shows that we need bespoke legislation to provide timely redress for those who have suffered as a result of doing the right thing. And indeed, this was an issue which I think the Prime Minister was absolutely right in drawing attention to when he, on the 11th of August last year, wrote to Kate Scott, whose husband Jamie, a fit 44-year-old software engineer, spent 124 days in hospital following severe brain injury caused by the vaccine. The Prime Minister said, referring to Kate's husband Jamie and his family from Warwickshire, and I'm delighted that my right honourable friend, the member for Kenilworth and Southam, is here today in support of this bill. The Prime Minister said, "You're not a statistic and must not be ignored." He went on to thank Kate Scott for her suggested changes to the vaccine damage payment scheme and promised that the government would consider the case for reform. This bill is my contribution to that call from the Prime Minister for consideration of reform. This bill is not just about the payment process, it's also about diagnosis and treatment for those patients who have suffered or continue to suffer ill effects from the vaccines. Currently, the situation is totally inadequate, and that's why the bill places a duty on the Secretary of State to improve both diagnosis and treatment. Those who were in perfect health before their vaccine have encountered too much ignorance and scepticism when seeking medical help. For some, their GPs have refused to engage, and that has reached the extent that they are made to feel gaslighted, Madam Deputy Speaker, with their physical pain being dismissed or explained away as mental illness. How insulting and humiliating is that, and how at odds with the principles of the National Health Service? The bill also makes provision about financial assistance to those who have suffered disablement following vaccination against COVID-19, and to the next of kin of those who have died. An ex gratia payment of £120,000 is available, but it has not been increased for 15 years and now needs to be raised to £177,000 to keep up with inflation. But even £177,000 falls far short of the compensation which should be available for the most serious life-limiting injuries, which is why the bill calls on the Secretary of State to report to Parliament on whether there should be any upper limit at all. Other jurisdictions have taken the view that fully compensating those who do the right thing for public health reasons by having a vaccine should be looked after by the state if the consequences of having that vaccine result in disability or injury. This approach is taken in order to promote vaccine confidence amongst those who might otherwise be hesitant about having a vaccine. This government's approach, however, seems to be to try and promote vaccine confidence by covering up the adverse consequences for some of having been vaccinated. The Secretary of State's report under this provision would also address the 60% disability threshold, which is a major constraint of the current system. Why should somebody who is 50% disabled as a result of vaccine damage be ineligible for any payment? Is there not a strong case for relating the payments made to the extent of the disability suffered? There's much public concern that the government is going to use lack of proven causation as an excuse for not making payments under the scheme. Should the test therefore not be one of whether there is any other reasonable explanation for the disablement or death suffered? The scale of this is enormous, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I don't think the government has come to terms with the extent of it. More than 450,000 yellow cards have been submitted to the Medicines, Healthcare and Regulatory Authority detailing adverse reactions to COVID-19 vaccines. That number is an underestimate of the actual numbers of people adversely affected. That number may be 4.5 million or more. I adduce what the MHRA said in 17th of May 2019, then that only 10% of serious reactions and between 2 and 4% of non-serious reactions are actually reported under the yellow card scheme. The MHRA say that those figures don't apply now, but they haven't said what figures do apply. Madam Deputy Speaker, this bill cannot make progress on its own in this session with prorogation set for the 29th of April. But it is and can be a catalyst for government action. I welcome the agreement of the Vaccine Minister to meet me on the 19th of April, and I look forward to that meeting. And I also welcomed very much the promise of the Secretary of State to respond in writing in full to the points which were raised in my adjournment debate on the 2nd of March, and he promised to do that before the recess. I have to say, Madam Deputy Speaker, we haven't yet had that response. And I know that my honourable friend for Rutland and Melton, who also participated in that debate, that she has yet to receive the outcome which she was promised in that debate. And I've also asked for answers to all my outstanding parliamentary questions. And there are probably about a dozen still outstanding, Madam Deputy Speaker. This morning, or at 5 minutes to 1 to be precise, 2 were answered, 12:55. They come in just when I was leaving my office. But just picking up on 2 of those answers, it just shows how the government is still in denial about the importance and extent of this issue. Because I was asking about why people who have already been found to have died as a result of the vaccination, why their cases cannot be processed automatically for the claims. And the Minister has said in her answer, the NHS Business Service Authority has requested the relevant authorities to provide the records. But I've also got correspondence here from somebody who directly corresponded with that authority and was informed that the authority was trying to get the ministers to change their policy so that they could have a much less bureaucratic response. So you've got a situation here again where the minister is blaming the service authority are blaming the minister, and who are suffering? The victims, victims of these vaccine damage incidents, which I fear those victims are not going to go away, and nor is this issue, and I hope the government's going to address it.
The question is that the honourable member have leave to bring in the bill. As mayors that opinion, say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. I think the ayes have it. The ayes have it. Who will prepare and bring in the bill?
Madam Deputy Speaker, Hannah Bardell, Mr. Peter Bone, Miriam Cates, Philip Davis, Richard Drax, Esther McVeigh, Nigel Mills, Jim Shannon, Sir Desmond Swain, Mr. William Ragg, Jeremy Wright, and myself.
Christopher Chope.
COVID-19 vaccine damage payments bill.
Second reading what day?
Friday the 5th of May.
Friday the 5th of May. Thank you. We now come to motion number 2 on business of the House today. Leader of the House to move.
I beg to move.
The question is the business of the House today motion as on the order papers. May that opinion say aye.
Aye.
Of the contrary, no. The ayes have it. The ayes have it. And so we come to motion number 3, which will be debated together with motion number 4 on the Coronavirus Act 2020. Under the terms of the business of the House today order, the questions on this motion and motion number 4 will be put separately no later than 90 minutes after the start of this debate.